from the paraphernalia to the other charge, but it had nothing to do with a plea bargain.
Okay, well, okay, I guess, but it seems kind of far-fetched to me, the end up charge. I mean, that's kind of I never used that, and I did it for a lot of years. Okay,
I don't understand what you were saying, sir.
Let's move on. Is that all you need to say about that?
Well, I would like to clarify what you were saying there at last. You said it was far-fetched. I don't understand what you was trying to get to.
Well, somebody in law enforcement charging you with possession of drug paraphernalia for having an antifreeze tester, and then you go to court and you end up pleading guilty to a parking without your emergency flashers on, parking in the roadway, and you're sound asleep, and the whole thing just sounds bogus, or as we say sometimes in the country, boogered up. That's a whole weird story there.
Oh, I love the sheriff. As we say in the country, boogered up. I never heard that before. How many of my southern listeners say that one often? And yeah, the sheriff has been in the business a long time. That's what he was referring to. Mr. Prater actually retired a little bit early to join the Board of Paroles after being handpicked by the new governor. I think this would actually be a good time at the end of this hearing to go over a little bit of his career. So we'll do that in the unpacking. But he has a total of 51 years in law enforcement, 24 years, which was spent as the sheriff of Cato Parish, 8 years as the chief of police of Shreveport, and 19 years as an officer. So, yep, he's been around a long time, and you got to take what he's saying seriously. But let's jump back into the hearing. It's a parole revocation hearing, and he's got an uphill battle. Let's jump in.
Okay. Now, sir, Mr. Welcher, I'm going to read your offender information for the revocation. Number 2, you failed to submit a monthly report for the months of December 2022, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December 2023, and then January, February, March, and April of 2024. So you have the opportunity now to plead guilty with a statement, not guilty with a statement, or guilty or not guilty without a statement. What do you plead?
I'm going to plead not guilty with a statement, ma'am.
Okay. All right, let me write that down. Okay, and then the next one is on or about January the 1st, 2024, you moved from your listed address of 621 Laurel Street in Houghton, without notifying or obtaining permission from your parole office. Do you plead guilty or not guilty, and either one with or without a statement?
I'm going to plead not guilty with a statement.
Okay. All right, and then on June 30th, 2022, you committed the offense of domestic abuse battery. First offense in Bossier Parish. Bossier, and then number 2440262. Charges were dismissed on 3/22/2023 when the ex-wife denied the battery happened. Do you plead guilty or not guilty with or without a statement?
Not guilty with a statement, ma'am.
Okay. You committed the offense of possession of drug paraphernalia on May 7th, 2024. On July the 10th, 2024, you pled guilty in Bienville Parish District Court to the reduced offense of parking outside a resident district and was sentenced to 5 days in the parish jail. Do you plead guilty or not guilty, sir?
Not guilty with a statement, ma'am.
Okay. Right. And then you have not paid supervision fees since being released to parole supervision. Your current arrears balance is $4,718. Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty with a statement.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next thing is, do y'all have a questionnaire that you were asked to sign?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and do you see where you have said that you want to speak in your own behalf without an attorney?
I do not, because I specifically requested an attorney at my preliminary hearing.
But this isn't a preliminary hearing. Hold on one second.
Yeah, the form states you're not eligible for appointed counsel. That's your signature at the bottom.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, well, you're not eligible for an appointed counsel.
Okay, so
Okay.
you're not eligible for appointed counsel.
Yes, ma'am. Just for the record, can we say that I did request a counsel?
I mean, if you want to continue this hearing and you seek out counsel, and you're more than welcome to, but that's at your request.
But I can't be appointed counsel.
No, you would have to pay for it yourself, and you could do it on another day. Do you want to do that? Do you want to delay this hearing and do it on another day and then have an attorney with you at your expense?
I can't afford an attorney, ma'am.
Right, and so you don't qualify for us to appoint one for you at no cost.
Okay. What's the qualifications, if I can ask?
So we're going to continue on with the hearing right now. You signed the form. It's right there in front of you. Okay, so we're going to continue on with the hearing now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at this point, we're gonna ask you to explain, right, that you failed to submit a monthly report December the 22nd, December of 2022, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December of 2023, and January, February, March, and April of 2024. So what's your explanation for that?
Okay, on December, this was all established at the preliminary hearing. I don't know if y'all have the results of that. But in December of 2022, Officer Kerr, which was my supervising agent, he told me at Halton Town Hall to not report until further notice because of the COVID. And he and I stayed in constant contact through video conference. It was a duo to start with, and then we changed over to Meet, and we stayed in contact through Meet right up until February of 2024. And all that was established at the preliminary hearing, and it's in Supervisor Bird's report that where I questioned the officer concerning that. And anyway, we did stay in contact through the video, and that was my understanding that was our monthly report, because he never told me any different. And I specifically asked that. And also, I kept him apprised of that domestic violence, domestic dispute charge. I stayed in contact with him about that. He knew my entire issues going on with my mother's health and everything right up until the day that I was arrested.
I have here, Wiltshire admitted to not reporting in 2023. That was after COVID. And to not having any written reports, but believed that he didn't have to because he was told. So you're going back to 2022 saying you were told.
Yes, ma'am. in December of 22 is whenever, and it's in the report.
You're saying that that was COVID. I guess you're saying that y'all talked on the phone?
We did our monthly reports via video we started out doing the duo, and then he wanted me to change it to Meet, Google Meet. And
Okay.
so I switched over from the duo to Google Meet, and from then on, we done through Google Meet right up until right here. He says, right up till February of 24.
Okay. Well, I don't have this written down here. All right, so we'll take the, all right, I've got it written down, okay?
Yes, ma'am. It's on section 2 of the hearing and recommendations that was done by
Yeah, I'm reading, yeah. Wiltshire admitted, what I'm reading is that you didn't report in 23 and to not having any written reports, but believed you didn't have to because he was told. That's what I've got written. Okay. All right. So Mr. Prater is going to take that up with you when he comes. All right. What about your statement for, I will live at the address on this certificate. If I move from this address, I will get permission from my parole officer before doing so. In addition, I will not leave the state of Louisiana without written permission from my parole officer. On or about January 2024, Mr. Wiltshire moved from his address on Laurel Street without notifying or getting permission from his parole officer. What do you say about that?
Okay, I did notify him. Well, actually, he notified me via video one morning and wanted to know, and all this again was in this report right here from Officer Byrd with the Minden office, that he contacted me and wanted to know where I was working at. And I gave him the address, and he told me that he knew exactly where it was at because he used to live right around the corner. And I was to wait on him that day. And I told him also I needed him to do the approval on that address because that's where I was going to be moving when my house sold. So I waited all day on him, and he didn't show up. And in this report, he stated that he'd come by a couple days later with a different officer and that I wasn't at home. So I did notify him. And the only reason I didn't do it in a monthly report is because he hadn't never told me to start doing the monthly reports again, that we were just doing them via the video. And he also did tell me that once we started back doing the monthly report, to make sure that I added that address so he could update his system.
Okay, well, we're going to leave that again for Mr. Prater, but you've made your statement and
okay,
that he knew about it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then the next one is the domestic violence. I will not engage in criminal activity, nor will I associate with people who are known to be involved in criminal activity. I will avoid bars and casinos. I will refrain from illegal use of drugs and alcohol. And it says on June 30th, 2022, you committed the offense of domestic abuse battery, first offense in Bossier Parish. What's your explanation?
First of all, man, that was an arrest date, but it was, I don't guess it makes any difference, but it was a misunderstanding. My ex-wife is kind of jealous, and she called me that morning numerous times, and answered the phone a couple of times, and finally I didn't answer anymore because I had been up all night packing up so I could move. And she come to my house that morning, beating on the door. I asked her what she wanted in a rude way. She left and went across the road to my sister's house. And then once I got up and got dressed and was going to town to get some
So once
drinks,
again, because I'm going to leave this to Mr. Prater to have the conversation with you. You're pleading again, not guilty, because that's your statement that it didn't happen the way.
it did not happen.
Okay. All right. And let's see the next one. All right, you committed the offense, possession of drug paraphernalia on May 7th, 2024. On July 10th, 2024, you pled guilty in Bienville Parish District Court to the reduced charge of parking outside a residence district and was sentenced to 5 days in the parish jail. How do you plead on that? And what's your statement? You already pled not guilty.
Right. Well, my statement is I was arrested for that drug paraphernalia, but once I went to court, they amended the bill down to, like what you said, it was parked outside of a residence. I think it was RS 32-143, which was a non-moving traffic violation. I pled guilty to that, but based on the fact that that's what I did and not possess drug paraphernalia.
Okay. All right, so I've got that written down. And then number 10, you have not paid supervision fees since being released to parole supervision. Your current arrearage balance is $4,718.
Yes, ma'am. I did plead not guilty to that based on, I did pay some and it's in the report also that Mr. Bird found that when he went back to his office and done his report, he put it in there. But I got out in November the 1st of 2017. It was either in December or January, I got injured and I was under doctor's care right up until I was arrested in Caddo Parish and stayed 18 months. I didn't get out until May of 20.
So are you saying that you didn't pay because, and you got out May 20th? Because I still show that, that March of 2022, you paid $36 on a money order. Okay, so you're saying that's not
$40 money orders is what I paid that day.
So what do you say you owe?
I don't say that I don't deny owing, ma'am. I was giving you the reason why I didn't pay from December of 18 up until the COVID ended.
All right, December of 18. And you've been paying ever since?
No, ma'am. I only paid what is in the report. I thought I paid more than that, but I can't say that for sure. I have an envelope at home with the receipts in it.
Okay, so in other words, he's telling the truth though. We have some supervision fees that have not been paid, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so at this time, let me get my cheat sheet here. Okay, I'm gonna pass this over to Mr. Prater, who is going to be asking you questions today. He has your case.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Mr. Prater?
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me all right there, Bobby?
Sure.
Okay, we're gonna make it pretty brief as we can and make your answers as succinct as possible. Let's start with the money that you
Okay.
owe. How much do you owe now?
The report says $4,718.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. You've had since 2017, you should have been paying on this. How much total have you paid?
The report said I paid two $40 money orders.
Okay.
And I think it was part of it was applied to like the initial $65 and then the other went toward the monthly fee.
Okay. All right. I'm satisfied. Let's move on. Let's look at the drug paraphernalia case. We're working from the bottom up.
Yes,
The
sir.
drug paraphernalia case. Tell me about that.
I was down at the lake fishing and I moved my car up to the top of the hill where I could get some reception, on my phone. And while I was sitting there waiting on someone to text me back, I was going to go down to their house and wash my clothes. I fell asleep. Officer pulled up, asked me to step out. I did. he then said that he found a pipe or something in my car. He actually showed it to me. I don't know what it was, but it was a piece of glass. I do think that it was one of those testers that you test your antifreeze in your car with, because I have one of those in my console. I just thought about that the other day. But anyway, when I explained all this in court to the district attorney and my lawyer, they opted to reduce the charge, or amend the bill to 32,143, I believe is what it was, and it was parking in a, obstructing the roadway without putting your flashers on.
That was a plea bargain, correct?
No, it was not.
Okay,
It
so
was amended. The bill was amended from the paraphernalia to the other charge, but it had nothing to do with a plea bargain.
okay, well, okay, I guess, but it seems kind of far-fetched to me, the end up charge. I mean, that's kind of I never used that, and I did it for a lot of years. Okay,
I
let's
don't
move,
understand what you were saying, sir.
let's move on. Is that all you need to say about that?
Well, I would like to clarify what you were saying there at last. You said it was far-fetched. I don't understand what you was trying to get to.
Well, somebody in law enforcement charging you with possession of drug paraphernalia for having an antifreeze tester, and then you go to court and you end up pleading guilty to a parking without your emergency flashers on, parking in the roadway, and you're sound asleep, and the whole thing just sounds bogus, or as we say sometimes in the country, boogered up. That's a whole weird story there.
Well, sir, that's exactly what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to understand where the roadway was too. It was a little short distance of highway right there by the lake at Lake Vistano. That's no longer used really since they built the new dam. It's just a little, probably 30 yards of roadway right there.
Okay, well, I'll just say this and then we'll move on. You seem
Okay.
like a person that kind of knows the rules and knows the law and gonna take things to the limit. You're gonna stand up for yourself is what I'm trying to say. And that seemed like such a small thing. I'm surprised you pled to that and didn't fight that. But we'll move on.
I did. I mean, that was the law that I broke. I mean, there wasn't the only defense I had on the traffic violation is the fact that the police jury no longer maintains that as a roadway.
Okay. All right, well, let's move on. That's a small thing anyway. Let's move on to the domestic violence thing. I know what you're saying about the domestic violence. I've read the reports. Tell me, do you know this witness to the domestic violence? Do you know her?
You mean the Jamie lady?
Yep.
I do not know. I've briefly seen her with my ex-wife a couple of times. They're friends.
Okay, why would she make this thing up? Why would she make up what she said? The independent witness. Why would she?
I can only say what I was told, and I was told by my ex-wife that she and Jamie discussed while they was waiting on the police to get there what they was gonna tell them, and that's all I know. I have a video of the entire incident. I just can't get to it. That's one reason I was asking for an attorney. I have lots of documentation that I could, support my stories. I just can't. I don't have access to it.
Okay.
I don't have nobody who does. My mother's the only person I have that can help, and she can't drive or leave the house.
Okay. All right. So you're saying that didn't happen that didn't happen at all, right?
There was an incident, but I never put my hands on her. Did you get an affidavit from her?
Yeah.
Not Jamie, but Jamette.
Right. From the ex that said that evidently the weed eater hit her in the mouth instead of you.
Would you like me to explain what did happen?
Yes, but briefly, yes, sir.
Okay. As I started, I'm sure you've heard before when I was telling Miss Stapleton, she came to my house that morning beating on my door because she knew there was another lady there. Now, she and I are divorced, been divorced since 1988, but she and I still see one another occasionally. And she was jealous. She come to my house and beating on the door. I wouldn't come to the door, and finally I come to the door and she was already gone. I look out the door, she's across the street at my sister's. I get up, I get dressed, I'm going to town to get some Cokes and snacks so I could finish packing. As I pulled out the driveway, I stopped there in the ditch where she was at, and she was weed eating. She turned around with the weed eater wide open and tried to hit me with the business end of it. I grabbed the weed eater by the pole and twisted it out of her hand and threw it on the ground. And then she said something to me. I made a spitting gesture at her, like, as disrespect is what I would call it, but I didn't spit on her. And she attacked me. And that's how it went down. When I walked off and told her, I said, I'm going to call the law. And she said, well, go ahead, call them. I'm going to call them too. And that was the end of it. I went on and went across the road to my house, and that was the end of it until I got arrested on June the 30th.
Mm-hmm.
That happened on, I think it was March the 23rd. I got arrested on June the 30th. It says that it was supposed to happen on June the 30th, but that's not correct.
Okay. What did you spend 18 months in Caddo Parish Jail for?
Issuing worthless check. That's what I pled to. They arrested me on forgery.
And why is that not? Why is that not included in anything that we're talking about today? When did that happen?
That happened in 2018.
But when did they arrest you for it?
I got arrested September the 6th of 2018 at the probation and parole. He asked me to come in and talk to an investigator. And I came in, they arrested me. I bonded out on September the 15th of 2018. He contacted me and told me that I wasn't supposed to bond out and that I needed to come back. And I asked him if I could finish a job that I had going, and he said, yeah. And then he come to my house and re-arrested me on December the 7th of 2018 for, I think he had a warrant, not for the charge, but for the parole.
And did you have a parole hearing at that time?
No, sir. I stayed 18 months and I pled guilty to issuing worthless check, and they let me out on May the.
Even though you were on parole at that time?
Yes.
You were on parole, you got arrested for a felony, you served 18 months, and they let you back out on parole.
Yes, sir. May the 22nd of 2020 is whenever I come home.
I'm a little bit confused, and I hate to even get into this where you live deal, because we'll be here all day, because it's a one-on-one deal, isn't it? It sounds like you're saying one thing and the probation agent is saying something contrary to that. Am I hearing that right?
Yes, sir. In a sense, to start out with, that's what it was in the report. However, when we had our preliminary hearing, and I was given an opportunity to question Mr. Kerr and ask him did he remember some certain instances, and he said yes, and it's in the report that Mr. Byrd, the probable cause, as to where he admitted that I told him where I was going to be living, and that he come by the residence. He just come by 2 days after he told me he was, even though I waited there the day that he told me he was going to come by. And then he admitted to all that once he remembered it. Uh, I mean, he clearly knew though, sir. I mean, I stayed in contact with him all the time. I mean, he knew everything about my life, about my mother's sickness, you know, me staying at the hospital with her, me staying at the rehab with her. He knew everything about me. I mean, I kept him apprised of everything that I'd done. You know, even whenever I bonded out on the domestic charge, I called him soon after. I don't know if it was the same day or the next day, but I called him and let him know because he told me, he said, look, he said, as long as you're not convicted of it, we're not going to worry about it. And that's where we went from there. That's been 2.5 years ago. I'm just as confused myself. Another thing, I've already addressed all these other issues except for the domestic through a sanction. On May the 15th of this year, since I've been here at Bienville Parish, probation and parole from Minden come out, and I admitted to the violations, and they gave me a 15-day sanction. After I didn't get released on those 15 days, I had my family call probation and parole and find out why they still had the detainer on me, because I was going to bond out on the new misdemeanor charge. And they wouldn't lift the hold. And then on the 23rd of May, Officer Johnson, Robert Johnson with Minden Probation Parole, come back down here and told me that we was going to redo everything, that the 15-day sanction was no longer an option. But I had already done the 15-day sanction. So he made me redo all these papers and said that it was all going to fall under the new law, that we had new administration and new boards and new laws, and all of it was going to fall under that he had to redo everything. Even though I disagreed with him on that, it's still, he only gave me one option. I mean, two options. He said I could either admit to the violation and revoke myself, or either I could ask for the preliminary hearing. He wouldn't let me check any other box other than that.
That's all the questions that I have. It may be that at some point I will ask for an executive session on this deal. I hate to start that, but that's all the questions I have, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Prater.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Prater. Mr. Tillis, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Okay, I'm going to quickly continue on with the domestic violence charge. I know that your ex-wife recanted, but the witness did not recant. We also have pictures of her swollen lip that was given to us. So I got to give a shout out to the police department there. They did a really good job of taking the pictures, because we need things like that. And the witness did say that you did hit her in the face and that you did spit on her. I don't know why she would lie about that. The pictures does show her lips swollen. I do know that your ex-wife, your daughter, and your mother wrote a letter that they would like for you to not be revoked, and that they love you very much. Your ex-wife, though, she loves them very much. And so she doesn't want people to be mad at her about all of this. So she did recant. But I have to tell you, that happens a lot.
I understand. She is on here if you would like to question her.
Okay, yes, we would. Ma'am, would you like to speak, please? Miss Wiltshire?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What do you have to say about this?
I lied because I was mad. Because when I went over there, he had another female over there, and I thought him and I were going to get back together. And the witness could not even see the incident that did occur from where she was at. And she just agreed with what I said. And I apologize to y'all, and I apologize to Bobby and his family, and to my children as well. And apologize to everybody for what I done.
How'd your lip get swollen? They took pictures.
It was already like that. I already had chapped lip. It was already like that.
Listen, has this ever happened before? Have you ever called the police before for domestic violence with him?
Back when
when
we
that-
were young,
be-
and we were married, and he drank alcohol, we used
Yeah.
to fight. I was jealous then. I provoked most of the fights then, but I'm also bipolar, and you know, we were young, and he drank. He does not drink now. He hasn't drank a drop of alcohol since he got out in 2017, and that's what he was
2017.
incarcerated, ma'am.
Okay, so the statement is that he hit you in the mouth and that he
No.
spit on you and that he pushed you again. And that during the
That's what I
time
told the
y'all were
police.
married, pardon? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, ma'am. That's what I
No.
told the police, and I said in open court that I lied, and I called the detective before the charges were placed on him to ask him not to place the charges on him. He said, it's too late, you have to take it to court. So I went to court and I told them there that I lied, and I did. And I was mad. I was furious. Especially when he spat at the ground and then that girl was sitting there, I was just furious. I was embarrassed. And I shouldn't have done that though, because it wasn't right. And I'm the one that needs to be in jail, not him, because I lied and had him going through this. My daughter's standing here. I don't know if she can speak or not, but because she's not registered, but she's standing here if you'd like to speak to her.
Yeah. No,
But I'm
no,
sorry,
she's not registered.
I can't change what I did except for beg y'all, please don't hold him accountable for what I did. You know, I feel bad and I'm not gonna be able to live with myself for it. My kids are just, they don't know what to do now at this point, you know.
I had the witness lie.
She just did what I asked her to do. She couldn't even see from where she was at. She was in the vehicle, way up the hill. And me and him were down here in a ditch. There's no way she could have seen anything that we were doing. I hollered up there to her and told her, when he said he was calling the police, I hollered up there and told her to call the police.
Sorry, Madam Chairman, I may have interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead and ask your questions, Mr.
No,
Prater.
that's all. That just popped in my mind and I wanted to find out. I'm sorry.
Well, she
my
said in her
body-
statement that she saw it from across the street. She says
There's
that.
no way. She was behind us, parked where she could not see.
Okay, here's
Before
her
the cops got
statement.
there,
She seems to have known you for a long time, because here's her statements. Jamie watched the whole incident from the Jeep. She has seen the marks on Jeanette from when he burned her with cigarettes and stomped on her. As Bobby left, he said he was going to put marks on his face so it would look like Jeanette hit him too. That's her statement too, to law enforcement.
okay.
I thought y'all would have put something like that up.
Why? Because I was mad at him, trying to get him in trouble. He said he was fixing to get me in trouble.
So she was willing to lie to police too, for your sake,
Yes,
and go
She
back
was.
and say that she'd seen the cigarette burns that you alluded to, that he used to put cigarettes out on him.
Me and him used to fight all the time. That was when he drank alcohol. He has not drank alcohol. He's not a violent person now. He's a totally different man than he was. He's not touched any alcohol. He used to be everyday drinker, partying all the time. We were young,
Okay.
you know, and I was so jealous, and I still am. That's just how I am. I can't change it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for speaking. But you know what? I would advise that you please seek out a domestic violence shelter, not to go there, but to be part of their counseling services. It's free. And maybe you can have someone other than just no one to talk to get some advice and learn how to handle this, okay? So that you
I've been with somebody for 10 years now, and he's not a violent person, and Bobby is not either anymore. So
So
I
why
don't
are you
think I
so
need to.
jealous if you're with somebody?
Me? Because I
know.
still love because I still love Bobby, and I
Oh.
always love Bobby.
Okay,
And
well,
that's
we're gonna stop it at this point right now. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Mr. Prater, did you want to go into executive session?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, so at this time, we have a motion to go into executive session. Do we have a second? I'll second.
Okay. I second
Okay.
it.
Do we need a roll call or anything else? Okay, roll call. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
The board is back in session. It's 9:50, and we're gonna have a roll call, please.
Steve Prater. Steve Prater.
Here.
Chuck Tillis. Chuck Tillis.
Do not revoke.
Carolyn Stapleton.
Present.
Oh, she's calling like that.
Okay. So now, Mr. Prater, this is your case, so it will be your opportunity to vote first, please.
Okay, I'm gonna vote to revoke, and everything else seems so confusing, whether you take his side or the other side or whatever. But it seems like something happened at the domestic violence thing that shouldn't have. If something happened on the drug paraphernalia or the parking wrong, and something happened where he lost communication with his probation and parole officer. But for sure, without a doubt, he's almost $5,000 without paying, and he was ordered to pay. So there's just too many things, too many red flags here. Part of what parole is it's like getting a do-over. You messed up, you get convicted of something, you get on parole, and it gives you another chance to follow all the rules that the rest of us in society follow. And you didn't. So my vote is to revoke.
All right, Mr. Tillis.
My vote is do not revoke.
Okay, and then it's my turn to vote, and I agree with Mr. Prater, everything he said. I don't have anything to add to that. Okay, so we're gonna close out right now. And the time is 9:52.
Before we start, I just got to get something off my chest. I mean, what is the deal with Tillis? When I first saw that he was joining the board, I was so excited. In his bio, he's known as Angola's preacher, and I said, "Wow, this is going to be interesting." And then at the beginning, he was just soft spoken and a man of very few words. And I was taken aback, and I said, "Wow, this is like the first preacher in history that doesn't want to hear the sound of his own voice." But as time went on, as hearings went on, I kept waiting and waiting and waiting for something more than what we've been seeing. And what we've been seeing is nothing. And we've been actually seeing mistakes like the one we just saw now. And again, mistakes will happen, but when you start to see a pattern, it starts to make you wonder. And when you go against the grain, when you go against your fellow members from a hearing that we just saw, share some context with us. If you're going to say don't revoke, tell us why. I didn't see, just tell us, share with us. Don't revoke because, or in lieu of revocation, send them to a work release, something. It doesn't make sense to me. And I feel by reading the comments that I'm not the only one that feels this way. Now, I got to tell you about this guy, Bobby, who was just revoked. Forget his whole story that he just said there. But this guy is dangerous. I mean, he has a long record. Thank you, Richard, for sharing the information. But I'll give you some context that I have. And that is on March 15, 1998, he was stopped for his 4th DWI. Now, the judge took it real easy on him. He had 16 years, but he gave it 8 years and 8 years to run concurrent. And then everything was suspended except 2 years. He appealed that sentence in court, and this might have been what the sheriff was referring to about knowing his stuff. He appealed in court, He didn't win, but he wasn't happy with the 2-year sentence he got. And guess what happens when he gets out after 2 years? He gets his 50 DWI. So yeah, this man is dangerous. I don't get it, you know. And he got finally at that time, it was midnight, August 18th, 2004, when he went to the vehicle and he saw him switch and whatever, and they gave him a pretty big sentence. I'm not going to go through all the details of what happened, but he smelled the alcohol and he got the DWI, and they sentenced him to 25 years. So they finally said enough is enough, but he got paroled, and as you see now, he's been revoked. And in his revocation, he had other DUI things come up. I'll read to you here from Richard Penn. October 12th, 2021, he was arrested and charged with DV battery. Here, let me just share this tab with you. Let's see if you can see this. This is 2021, so he's not a friendly guy. According to Hayden's report, the victim, Wilcher's wife, told him the two argued about their 13-year-old cell phone. She said during the argument, he started putting his hands on her and pushing him. Then he bit her left arm, because why not? She showed the marks to the consistent with the bites. The complaint reportedly wanted to pursue charges. He had 3 prior DV charges, the first in 2013, 2015, and 2020. This isn't related to this offense, right? This is just another one. And as you saw, his, like, oh, I made it up, I didn't do it, it's my fault. We see this all the time. And again, Mr. Prater, why were you not revoking? So yeah, he's back, and probably back in quite a lot of time. But anyways, man, let's go watch a little bit about the sheriff, because this is a parole board member I can get behind. Let's jump in.
It was an announcement that took many by surprise. The longtime Caddo Sheriff Steve Prater says he'll retire at the end of his term instead of run for another term. Tonight, KSLA News 12's Jasmine Franklin breaks down why Prater made the sudden change in office.
A new sheriff will take over 1 year from today, coincidentally.
Today, longtime Caddo Sheriff Steve Prater announced he will be retiring.
I'm blessed to have served the citizens of Caddo Parish. I look forward to the next 12 months of aggressive crime fighting.
After nearly 50 years in law enforcement and more than 2 decades in the role, Sheriff Prater says he will not be seeking to be reelected next year.
I am not going to run for reelection.
Sheriff Prater says the decision came after being diagnosed with a treatable cardiac condition this past week.
I spent the entire day Monday getting a heart stent where I had a huge blockage that was kind of will interfere with your breathing at that. So I had that fixed.
He says now he's in great health.
Anything else, the headline needs to be Prater's healthy. Okay, no other blockages. They said you're perfect, you're great health.
Sheriff Prater took office in July of 2000 after getting 80% of the votes. He says although he isn't running again, he plans to stay involved in the community. In Shreveport, Jasmine Franklin, KSLA News 12.
It kind of reminds me of Sheriff Grady Judd, right, out of Florida. And isn't he a classic? And what I really like about him too is that he has called out the other Louisiana Sheriff Department. See, the Sheriff Department has a blanket statement for these parole hearings. Maybe you have picked up on it. If you watch enough of these, you probably have, because they always say when they're reading off who opposes a release, the Sheriff Department is always opposed. They're opposed even if the person was arrested for breaking into a car 25 years ago, has a perfect record, doing everything right, is like, it's almost criminal that they're still locked up. And they'll say, and your local sheriff department is opposed. And it drives me nuts, because when you have a blanket statement like that, one, it's really defining the culture in your sheriff department of us versus them. I mean, it really shows that you don't believe in rehabilitation. You don't. You don't. That's just wrong. Two is that when you say no to everything, it means nothing. And what I love about the sheriff is that he called them out for that while he's on the parole board. He said, it's a blanket statement, so it means nothing to me. I wish I had saved that soundbite so I could have played it back for you, because I don't want to misquote him, but it was that, and I loved it. I said, that is just amazing. You know, it's just there is something so wrong with that blanket statement by the sheriff department. But he's now doing you know. So let's see. Let's read this a little bit of this article. Friday, February 2nd, will be retiring from his position after being appointed by the Board of Pardons by Governor Jeff Landry. Governor Landry has made a number of other appointments in recent weeks. Prater served as the sheriff of Caddo Parish for more than 20 years. Before announcing he would not seek re-election in 2023, Prater was initially expected to finish out his term, but announced Friday in his last day, February 29th, about months, even after winning, right, by 80% of the vote. Okay, so what did you think? What did you think of that hearing? I mean, let's see. Maybe we'll see him up again for a parole hearing, and when we do, we'll cover it here. Make sure to check the playlist Return Of. That's where we put it. And help the channel reach 100,000 subscribers by subscribing if you haven't already. And with that,
And the whole thing just sounds bogus, or as we say sometimes in the country, boogered up. That's a whole weird story there.